Alrighty. So, was there anything in particular that you wanted to bring up, or?
I think we should probably talk about well, did you see the movie as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I had seen it. I gave it a last minute rewatch.
Okay, so should we talk about the documentary first or the movie first? Oh, well, no, I think we probably should talk about the documentary first and then the original documentary. And then if I did not see the full, there's a secondary documentary that's called The
That
Beals,
summer.
The Beals of, oh no, I didn't hear about that one.
Okay, I thought the Beals of Grey Garden was the alternate name for Grey Gardens.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought that was an alternate documentary like with extra footage because I watched the original Grey Gardens from I believe it's 1973-ish or 74. And then I watched the movie and I saw that there was something listed as the Beals of Grey Garden, but when I started watching it, it was like the same footage. So it is
Yeah.
an alternate title. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was the original title and then it got shortened.
But it's definitely it's definitely a really it's one of the best documentaries I've ever seen.
Yeah, I think it's called video verite, this style of documentary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which I'm not too familiar with that genre. I would definitely like to watch a lot more in that style.
Mm-hmm. There's one I recently watched called the Wild and Wonderful Whites of West Virginia, and it's
I've seen that one.
yeah.
I love that line. You got any mozzarella cheese sticks? And they're at Taco Bell.
Yes. I like the one where the lady, she has the most huskiest voice. I'm the sexiest one in the family. Like, okay.
Yeah, I love that one. That one's a lot of fun too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if you'd like to do that one eventually at some point.
Oh yeah, I would love to talk more about that one just to give me an excuse to watch it again.
Yeah, I mean that one's a lot of fun. I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget how it is that they're related to Hank Williams, senior, I think.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Senior or junior, one of those two.
Because I know in the documentary there was some parts where Hank Williams, I think it was Hank Williams Jr. He was sitting there talking about the family. So
yeah,
yeah.
I just don't remember how they're related.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have seen that one. I don't think I've seen any others other than those two. But yeah, that one was a lot of fun. I was trying to. Oh, have you seen the Luz del Mundo documentary?
No, what's that one?
That one's a religious cult. It's called Unveiled, Surviving El Luz del Mundo. They're Christians, but it's a church that started in Mexico, and they eventually opened up chapters in America or in the United States. I said that wrong.
Yeah, I just looked it up. Is this it?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy a lot of stuff that happened there, and I grew up next to one of those churches, which I mean, that left me surprised when I had first heard about it. So I was really keen on watching it.
Okay, it's on Netflix. Okay, I'm gonna put that to my watch list. Well, there's two. There's one that's on Netflix, and there's one called the one you're talking about is Unveiled, right?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that one's on
that one's on HBO Max. Let me take a
Yeah.
screenshot that way I can come
Yeah, I
back to
haven't
it.
seen the one on Netflix. I'm not sure what that one's called.
Let me pull it back up. I'll tell you. It is called. Go back to my screenshots. It's weird. I just took the screenshot. It's there. When I click on it, oh, there it is. The Darkness Within La Luz del Mundo. It's what the cover looks like. This one right here on I can't point to it. I'm backwards here.
Okay, the
right
one
there.
on the left?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll see if I can find that. I'm going to have to, use the back channels to find that one.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And of course, there's no one in the stream yet, but I'm going to say what I was going to say initially anyways, is that this seems like the right costume for the day. I mean, I have to think of these things. My mother wanted me to wear a kimono, and we had a horrible fight.
Yes, it's the revolutionary costume.
Yes.
I love how she says, I've never worn it, or I don't wear it in the East Hamptons, but she wears it twice in the documentary.
Mm-hmm. Like it's this side that's a little bit crooked. It took me a while to figure out how she had. I'm using a hair clip, but I think she had actual like pins, like
Yeah,
brooches that she was putting up there. I don't have any brooches, so I just used a decorative hair clip. But it is an iconic look. I
it is.
do I do find it fascinating about how their family had so much immense wealth. Like she is part of
Hmm.
the Bouvier family.
Yeah,
Her cousin is Jacqueline Kennedy. Ended up being Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. Or
yeah,
actually, her full name would be Jacqueline Bouvier Kennedy Onassis.
yeah. There was a TV movie about her back in the 90s. I remember watching that one. But yeah,
Mhm.
it's crazy how that went through. And then you mentioned you hadn't seen Last Summer, but originally it was Lee Bouvier, the sister,
Mhm.
or people refer to her as the Forgotten Bouvier.
Oh.
But she had had an interest in acting at some point, and she was hanging out with Andy Warhol and that crew.
Oh wow. I'm adding Last Summer to my watch list so I don't forget.
Yeah, and so that's how the documentary originally came about. Is the Maisels were, because they were part of that crowd, so they came along, and they were documenting what was going on during that summer, which is how they came to meet both Edie's. And then I forget what it was that happened. I think it was released in 2016. According to the synopsis, the original reels had been lost, so it got shelved
Mhm.
for about 40 years. So what the documentary shows are the lost tapes, and there's other
Mm.
celebrities that are shown in there as well. But yeah, I mean, you get to see Edith, where she was treating it, little Edie, she was treating it more as like a movie. So she would
Mhm.
deliver the same line repeatedly, and then she would ask, "Was that okay?" Which I think the film took, but
Mhm.
we didn't see that in the original documentary, I don't think.
Yeah, so the one I did watch, the second one that's called The Beals, I mean, let me rephrase that. The first one that I watched that was just called Grey Gardens didn't have those outtakes, but when I watched The Beals of Grey Gardens, they showed that outtake where after she did
Oh,
her
okay.
spiel about her outfit, she
Mhm.
looks at the camera and goes, "Is that good or you want me to do it again?"
Oh, okay. I'll have to go back and watch that one. I didn't know it had additional.
That's what I think the difference is. They're both listed as the same year on HBO or on Max rather, but they have two different running times.
Oh, okay. I hadn't noticed that. I'll have to go back and watch that one then. Yeah, but that's originally how the documentary came about, is from Lee Bouvier and the crowd she was hanging out with.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think in the movie Grey Gardens, little Edie comments, "The Maisels are back."
Mm-hmm. It's on Tubi that summer.
Oh, okay.
So
I
I,
wish I had known that. I rented it off of Prime.
yeah, because it says here, yeah, it is on Prime for $2.99, and then yeah, it's on Tubi. So yes, yay for that. If you're in
Yeah.
the US, if you're watching us from outside the US, I know you guys don't have access to Tubi. I did post on my community wall the original documentary that's on YouTube. That it's called Grey Gardens. I can check. Let me check and see if that summer is also on YouTube because that happens sometimes. Sometimes people upload
Mm-hmm.
that summer.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to go back and rewatch that other one, The Beals of Grey Gardens, now that I know it has additional takes to it. I wasn't aware of that. I just assumed they were the same movie.
Yes, it is. That summer is on YouTube. It's free with ads.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I can watch it there. Let me save this to watch later then. Cool. The house itself, you don't get to see a whole lot of it in the documentary because it's a huge house. But
Yeah.
what you do see is amazing. Like the cans stacked up in the corner. That was wild. The scene with the cat behind this portrait that cost thousands of dollars to be made. And
Hmm.
you hear the documentarian saying, the cat is going to the bathroom behind the portrait, and the camera just lingers on the portrait, and you just you let your mind do the work. It's just amazing.
Yeah. I mean,
It's so authentic, but I like the way they did. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to keep
no,
going
no.
running off, but I like the way they did it in a way that you don't get the impression that the Maisels are trying to make fun of them or belittle them. It's done in a respectful way.
Hmm. Yeah, it is. And to my understanding, they came to become, on a friendly basis because
Hmm.
what was it? At one point, little Edie takes something over and she says, "That's a cracker for David," or "It's a cracker for you," something like that.
Hmm.
And she dropped something off for him to snack on.
Hmm.
And here and there, I can hear them conversing with them from behind the camera.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's an interesting dynamic between mother and daughter. I mean, they're both eccentrics, but it's interesting.
Hmm. And at first I wondered, like, how did their home get to that condition? And when I heard about their upbringing and past, it sort of made a little bit more sense, because these are people that had so much wealth. They weren't used to doing things for themselves.
Mm-mm.
They had a full staff, someone to cook, someone to clean, someone to do piano lessons. They That's their lifestyle. So when they lost access to those things, it really, like, it was in a way traumatic for them, I would imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, everything just went to shambles. I mean, even the
Mhm.
garden, it was just all overgrown. It looked more like it was part of the woods behind the house.
Mhm. And Big Edie lost it twice, because she lost it the first time, when her husband, her ex-husband, passed away, and he made that trust because he knew that she wasn't, how do I say,
Right.
stable enough.
Oh, okay. I
Um,
was thinking self-maintain.
yeah, she wasn't stable enough to handle the money. So
Hmm.
he was right to put it in a trust, because it would have run up way sooner if it was left up to Big Edie, because she has these flights of fancy. But
Yeah.
the sons had tried to explain to them that, well, if you downsize, if you sell the house, which at the time, if they had sold the house as it was uh, at the time that the sons came up with this idea, they probably would
Hmm.
have got way more money for it than the time that it actually ended up being sold. That's after Big Edie passed and Little Edie ended up selling it after it was
Yeah.
all in disrepair. They would have been in better shape. But the second time she got cut off, she was also receiving money from her father,
Mm. Oh,
Big
okay. I wasn't
Edie.
aware of that one.
Yeah, it was in the that Grey Gardens doc.
Oh, okay. The other
Big
one.
Yeah, the other one. Big Edie said that her father had her. Did she call it an allowance? Maybe, I think she might have used the term allowance. That her father was still giving her an allowance until she came to her brother's wedding in clothes that her father didn't like. He accused her of dressing like a showgirl,
Hmm.
and then he cut her out of his will and only left her with, I think he left her with $80,000, which is like minuscule to a person that's like a millionaire
Yeah.
or a multimillionaire or whatever. But yeah, so she got cut off twice. And in those days, they didn't think about mental health or going to therapy or finding or diagnosis or anything like that.
Mm-mm.
They just,
No, they didn't. I guess I don't really know the quite wording, but yeah, I mean, it wasn't something that was getting too much attention.
hmm
I guess they just kind of wrote it off as, well, she's strong spirited or free spirited.
hmm And at that time, there was a huge stigma associated with receiving any type of psychiatric care. Like
Yeah.
now, we talk more freely about it, but back then, I imagine they had to be very, very hush hush.
Yeah. Well, I mean, some people nowadays, I think they're
hmm
still like that, like, oh, you don't need treatment, you should just handle it on your own. But that's a whole different discussion.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Especially in certain communities where I can speak about the Black community, and the Caribbean community is very much prayed away. It's like, that's not, you can't pray away schizophrenia. If you have that, you might
No.
have to take some medication. you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only way you're going to keep someone grounded.
hmm Yeah, because some things are purely psychiatric in that it comes from either trauma or there's a fruit fly that is terrorizing me and I can't. It's one singular fruit fly. um, and then there's other psychiatric issues that are literally a chemical imbalance in the brain,
Yeah.
and that has to be corrected with, well, for now, corrected with medicine because they haven't figured out a way to completely correct it in a non-medicinal way, if that makes sense. Kind of like how in some countries they use stem cells to correct certain things, but in the
Hmm.
US we don't use stem cells. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine, and I mean, obviously it'll happen maybe long after I'm gone, but I can't
mhm,
imagine someone going in there and just doing some surgical procedure just to,
mhm.
connect certain things, and it's like, poof, you're better.
Yeah, that would be amazing. I mean, I'm just thinking about myself as a person that I've had multiple bouts with depression and I've been hospitalized for it, like to that extent. I still have anxiety. Well, the technical term that I have or my diagnosis is generalized anxiety disorder.
Yeah.
But part of that comes from ADHD. A lot of people with ADHD end up wrestling with anxiety and depression because we tend to the depression comes from us getting really down on ourselves for being quote abnormal. And then the anxiety comes from, oh my God, what am I going to mess up today? What am I going to forget? What am I going to
Oh,
blurt
wow.
out? So you end up being very anxious because in the past your ADHD has unfortunately caused you to make so many mistakes that you feel it can make you feel unsure of yourself.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm in a similar boat with like depression and stuff, and I mean, those are usually the times when I step back from YouTube. I
Oh,
think my
same.
viewers are used to it, where I just kind of poof, I disappear without saying anything, and I could be gone for like months before I come back.
Same with me. I wish
Yeah.
I would be more consistent. In the more recent years, I've been a little bit better. I haven't. I still have like depressive moods, but they're not to the extent where I have to be hospitalized anymore. Or and
Yeah.
like, I was on medication for years and years and years, and then I was fortunate enough to get into a program where it's like it goes by income, and
Hmm.
I was able to have access to cognitive behavioral therapy, and it helped me so much with kind of identifying my triggers, identifying uh, poor behaviors that you might have learned from your family that don't suit you well in life. So you have to unlearn those behaviors. Um, to ignore some of your inner voices because sometimes your inner voice will start criticizing and you have to try to shut off that part of you that is hypercritical of yourself. So I learned a lot of coping strategies with the therapy that if I only just did the medication alone, I don't think I would have progressed as well. But I think another part of it that helped me was becoming over 40. I feel like the older I get, the less fucks I have to give.
Yeah.
And like I think back on when I was 20 and how much every word a person said to me was so deeply effective to me. And now at my older age, I'm like, fuck what that person's talking about. You're not gonna make me feel bad about some shit. No,
Yeah.
you don't pay my bills. Fuck out of here.
Yeah, pretty much.
Hmm.
I mean, even when people keep, at least it's a situation I've been in where people just keep picking and they don't know when to stop. And my first thought is,
Hmm.
I've been through worse. You're an amateur.
Oh yeah, I think that's what made me be able to be, or both of us actually, be able to be on YouTube a little bit more easily because I feel like people who have never had that type of difficulty in their life, or hey Marty,
Hey,
hey
Marty.
Tony man, um, almost lost my train of thought. People haven't had that type of difficulty in their life or haven't been picked on in person. When they come online and people say things to them, they get so hurt because they're not used to it.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm like, I can just block you. You're not in my face calling me names. You're not literally, following me home from school yelling, you know, uh, insults at me. Like I grew up in the 80s, like where people bullied you to your face.
Yeah. I mean, even in the workplace, it's stuff I've had to deal with.
Oh
And my
yeah.
first thought was, okay, you either have very low self-esteem or, you know, it's silly for an adult to blame it on the parents at that point. That's just bad
Yes.
habits they've picked up over the years.
Exactly. After a certain age, and the age I give is usually about 27, because that's
Hmm.
when your frontal lobe is fully formed. At that age, you have to start taking responsibility for your own actions and start also recognizing if your parents have uh, given you the wrong type of tools, like if you have a narcissistic parent or if you have a
Oh
very
yeah.
to recognize that that's their issue and start working on correcting those things that they might have taught you that were wrong, or
Yeah.
also figuring out why your parents do what they do. Because I started noticing, like, I kind of understand my mother more now as I spent more time with my grandmother. I noticed that um, some of my mother's trauma probably comes from my grandmother comparing her to my aunt, and my
Oh,
aunt
okay.
being kind of treated as the golden child, and my
Yeah.
mother being more of an afterthought because she wasn't everything that my grandmother wanted her to be. Like, she didn't go into the field of study that my grandmother wanted to go into. So it's now clicking to me. Oh, this is why my mother's responding this way, because this is what she went through. Okay, I
Mhm.
understand it now.
Yeah.
And the same thing with my father. I noticed things about him that I think come from having a large family, being one of 8 children. I feel like they often fight for attention
Hmm.
because there's so many of them. So everything is very um, what's the word I'm looking for? Achievement based, even in their older years. Like, I have one aunt, she was very happy. I'm proud of her too. It's very nice, but it just seems interesting. She got a gardening award for
Oh
having the
wow.
best garden in the neighborhood, and then my father gets technology awards, and it's like they have the same um, kind of competitiveness as if they were still like teens.
Hmm. Hmm.
Analyzing parents. I think and
No,
part
I
of
think we all do it at some point. I mean, especially it's part of like self-help,
hmm
self-discovery, where you do have to find and give yourself answers.
hmm Hey, Mystic Mac. I was also going to say there comes a part in Little Edie's life where she also goes through that, where she discovers um, how, well, not how, but she kind of figures her mother out a little bit more. Why her mother was always trying to prevent her from going out into the world. I think
Yeah.
I think it was purely out of loneliness. Big Edie never wanted to be alone in that house, and since the sons had gone, little Edie was the last one there, and she just kept on doing things to try to prevent her from going out into the world, just so she would have someone there with her.
Yeah, and they do discuss that in the documentary, and
hmm
it's sad that little Edie still has, resentment towards her mother, like that she
hmm
never got to go off and live her own life. And she mentions there was a man that she was interested in, but Big Edie wouldn't even give him the time or day, just ran him off.
hmm Well, if the movie is to be believed, the movie posits that the man that she was interested in was married.
Hmm.
So,
Um, yeah, they did make slight reference to that in the original documentary also,
hmm
that she had been parading around with a married man, but it didn't go into detail or say how long that lasted or anything like
hmm
that.
Yeah. Oh, I should mention, I'm gonna probably jump back and no, let's talk about the documentary a little bit more before we get into the movie. Well, we talked for a good half an hour. Well, we'll do another 5 minutes on a documentary and then get into the movie. Um, any other thoughts that you can think of about the documentary that you want to talk about?
Codependency, I mean, little
Mm,
Edie eventually came to depend on her mother as well, and maybe that had a
yes.
lot to do with the trust that they had, the
hmm
trust fund.
hmm Yeah,
But
because her mother said multiple times to her something to the effect of, "You can't be creative when you're being supported."
mhm.
Yeah, she was saying you're being supported, as in you don't pay your own bills, so you kind of have to do what I say.
Yeah, or in that situation,
hmm
what the brothers are saying or what the
hmm
husband was saying at some point.
Oh yeah, and also during that time period, they really didn't have a choice. My mother was telling me about how in the late '60s to early
Mhm.
'70s, women in this well, at least where she was in Connecticut, you couldn't get an apartment unless your husband or your father signed for you to. And it was the same thing with bank accounts that
Yeah.
in there, the women couldn't do things without a male's signature.
Bank
So it's,
accounts, I remember. I wasn't aware of apartments.
mhm,
Yeah, it just sucks that, they had to go through what they go through, but
mhm.
at least on Big Edie's part, I don't really get any sense of resentment or that she felt that she was being held back. It was just more little Edie who
Yeah.
felt that way because she had all this ideas of grandiosity.
Mhm. And I think it's because Big Edie truly loved Grey Gardens. She said it was the most beautiful place to be at. She loved it so much. But little Edie preferred to be in a city. That's why she was so happy when her father took her to the city.
Yeah.
She was like ecstatic, but unfortunately she ended up having to come back home.
Well, that was poor choices. That's why she got dragged back,
Yeah.
or at least we're led to believe that.
Hmm. And now for the dramatization, um, we didn't get a whole lot of information about her father other than that he worked at a law firm or he might have owned a law firm, and
Hmm.
that he wanted her to be a secretary at the law firm. He
Yeah.
was like, I don't care about these, you wanted to audition and stuff like that. I want you to just work at the law firm. And she was like,
Yeah.
no, I'm an artist. I want to do this, that, and the other. So
It's
that
like
was,
his train of thought was more like grow up, set
mm-hmm,
your feet on the ground, get your eyes off of the stars, and
mm-hmm,
just do what you need to do.
mm-hmm. And there was one scene that was very surprising to me. As before the divorce, when they showed how Big Edie, it seemed that she was very flirtatious with the piano teacher, and
Hmm.
and kissed him in front of her husband. I was like, "Whoa, that's wild!
Yeah.
You're
I
really gonna
mean,
do that?"
I got the impression that they either had some familiarity with each other. To what
Hmm.
extent, it's not really discussed, but I kind of suspected even after the husband left that they two were, involved with one another.
Hmm. But it seemed like, or at least maybe the way the actor is playing it, it seemed like the guy really wasn't into Edie like that. I think he
Hmm.
just it they gave the impression that he just was doing what he was doing to stay someplace wealthy until
Yeah.
when Edie ran out of money. That's when he left.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
forget
Kind of
what his
like
name was.
improving his station just by association.
Hmm. He probably was networking and stuff like that. Also, I'm not sure whether it's meant to be an implication of, I mean, I might be reading too much into it, but whenever she would try to kiss him and stuff, he always recoiled. And I wonder if that was supposed to just mean that he wasn't into her like that, just using her for the money, or was it meant to mean that he actually wasn't straight, but
Yeah,
he
I
was
thought
just
the
playing
same
the part?
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at least in the film, he played very flamboyant.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot the word that the husband used, gametophyte.
Yeah. What is, I should Google what that means because I did
I
not.
mean, to me, I kind of Googled it. My understanding was one of the largest moons in the solar system.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of like saying he's over the top or something like that.
Mm.
Yeah, I kind of stopped and I'm like, I Googled that really quick because I'm like, I've never heard that word.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Max says, I enjoyed both Edie and Edith very much. We're so outgoing and talented.
Yeah.
I did enjoy their artistic spirit, and I wish that they were able to harness it in a way that they could benefit from. Well, eventually, little Edie did, but I'll talk
Yeah.
a little bit about that later. Um,
But
what else was I going to say?
the mother,
Oh,
I actually enjoyed her voice. I mean, I got the impression
yeah.
she had been trained,
Hmm. She
and the
definitely sounded
record,
like it.
yeah, I mean, the record that they played was actually a recording of her voice.
Mm. Yeah, and
But it
she
was,
said that she had to give it up when she got married, but
yeah.
she didn't feel sad about it because she said she could still sing it. That's also why she wanted to stay at Grey Gardens, because she could sing there without
Hmm.
her husband bothering her because he would be in the city for work most of the
Yeah.
week. Hmm.
Yeah, in the film, it was, what is it? She's like, it's not Friday. He's like, it is Friday.
Hmm.
Surprise, surprise, your wife gallivants while you're out.
Hmm.
He even says you're parading around like some showgirl.
Hmm. Which really is a quote from her father, not from her husband, but in the movie they made her husband say it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because that
Yeah.
was why her father cut her off. He said that she she came to her brother's wedding, and he specifically said the way she was dressed and the way she was dancing and singing that she was gallivanting around like a showgirl.
Hmm. Okay, I didn't know that. Um, so they kind of compressed some of their characters, I guess. But I do like
Hmm.
how the movie lifts dialogue from the documentary, but they change
Yes.
it by like maybe a word or two.
Hmm. Also, I have to give it up to Jessica Lange and Drew Barrymore.
Oh yeah.
They did an amazing job recreating Big and Little Edie, and especially the accent work, which is not easy, especially knowing that Drew Barrymore is from California, born and raised California, and
Hmm.
she was able to put on a I would call it a Southern New England slash upstate New York accent.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I grew up in the South, so to me it's just a northern
Hmm.
accent, but yeah, definitely I want to say a bit of New York in there, but the
Hmm.
documentary obviously their accents were a lot thicker.
Hmm. I loved how little Edie's told stories, and sometimes her stories would be non sequiturs, like they didn't make sense in the moment, but they were just fun to listen to.
Yeah, she had kind
Mhm.
of like her philosophical moments.
Mhm.
Even with what she had been writing on the wall in her brother's bedroom, and she was making a collage in there. I thought that was pretty neat.
Mhm. I definitely can identify with her in so many ways, especially being a very artistic person myself, and it just it's how do I express it? It's like she seems so free, even though
Hmm.
they're living in utter squalor.
Yeah.
They seem so she seemed so free, except for in fleeting moments where she would remember things that she wanted to do that she didn't get a chance to do, that she mostly blames her mother, but she also had to take um accountability for making these decisions herself because she was an adult. Her
Hmm.
mother could tell her to come home all she wants, but as an adult, you made the choice to come home. Although you didn't have any money, but you could have gotten a job and made money, and then you wouldn't have to come home. But you
She
you
didn't
didn't
want
keep.
to.
Yeah, she didn't keep them. She had a couple modeling jobs, but they weren't like
Yes.
a steady income.
And I did want to go back to the documentary. I think it was Big Edie. I mean, she was beautiful in those old
Hmm.
portraits. She looked like she could have been a model herself.
Yes.
But I kind of like how, well, that's bad wording, but genetically, they both had the same face when she was younger.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, I know the first time I watched the documentary, I was confused. I thought those were photos of little Edie, and on my rewatch, I had realized,
Hmm.
no, that's mom.
Hmm. Yeah.
I mean, definitely come from good genes.
Hmm. I wonder if you can be driven crazy by not doing what's really in your heart to do.
I don't know. I mean, I guess you have to really be set
Hmm.
on something, but I don't know if it's fair to say that they were both mentally ill, but yeah, they both had some dependency on one another, like kind of like
Hmm.
sort of like a glass menagerie issue where one couldn't
Hmm.
really exist independently without the other one.
Hmm. Oh, and the other thing that made their house the way it was, where they lived, they had to pay for trash pickup.
Hmm.
That's I've heard of places like that before. I've never lived in one, but I've heard of places where they charge to pick up your trash, and I'm like, that is horrible. That should be a part of the city's municipality. But there
Hmm.
are places that are like that.
Oh, yeah, yeah. In my hometown, we have stuff like that, like the properties that are further out of town. You do have to pay for trash disposal.
Mm.
The internet out there is horrible. It's practically dial-up still.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's. I mean, I come from a rural community, but they call it the estates because you have these big properties.
Hmm.
Even though the people out there aren't wealthy, They're just more like smaller ranches, but that's considered its own area for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
But I just lost my train of thought there. But yeah, I mean, definitely everything's more expensive to be out there. There isn't like a sewage system, so you have to pay to get septic tanks, emptied out and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that.
There was a house I wanted to buy back in 2009. It was on a foreclosure list. I think it was only something like $35,000 for a 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom. It was like a 2 story, kind of looked like a farmhouse.
Hmm.
And it had, mind you, this is $35,000 in-ground pool with a screen over it,
Hmm.
gazebo, and a pool house
Oh wow.
on like at least a quarter acre to a half acre of land for $35,000. And I didn't get it for two reasons. It had plumbing on the outside of the house and a septic tank. I
Oh
was
okay.
like,
Yeah.
I'm not, I said, this property is so beautiful. I'm not dealing with a septic tank. Because
No.
if ever there ever comes a time where I'm broke as hell and I can't pay to have the septic tank emptied, it's gonna back up underneath your land. And it's like, no, 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 no. Like, what if something happens and I'm hospitalized and I can't pay? It's gonna be a nightmare. No, I can't do that. It
Yeah,
was a really nice.
I knew someone who was in a similar situation. The house was a fixer-upper, and they had a septic tank, but it had an issue with it, and the commode was disgusting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could not deal with that.
Um, oh, little Edie, she had that issue with her stress where she would lose her hair.
Yes, I had wondered that when I was watching a documentary, the one that I watched, they never addressed the scarves, or sometimes they weren't always scarves on her head. Sometimes she had a shirt because you could see the collar. She would put a
Mhm.
shirt over her head.
Yeah, they were like sweaters.
Hmm.
Yeah. And in the documentary, you can actually get a clear look at, her lack of hair because it shows right through. And the movie obviously doesn't show through
Hmm.
because it's Hollywood.
Yeah,
But
that
I don't
could
know
be
if
an
it's,
autoimmune issue, but it could also be um, vitamin deficiency because I have anemia, and when my anemia gets really bad and my vitamin levels are messed up, my hair starts to break off, and it does start to like fall out, but not in patches. It's like it just appears like my whole hair is thinner than what it usually would look,
yeah.
but it doesn't look patchy. Fortunately, it just looks really, really thin. So I have to really be on top of my vitamins and everything to keep my hair from breaking off and looking terribly thin.
Yeah, I
She
mean, I
might
have
have like an
to,
extreme. Hmm?
I take biotin to help with that because,
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it does make a difference. Washing your hair with coconut oil, it also helps with fallout.
Hmm. And
And,
I recently my sister put me onto this was henna treatments strengthen your hair.
hmm,
That keeps it from breaking off. The type of henna treatments that the women do in India, they
uh-huh.
it's a little bit taxing to do because the henna has a grainy texture. But what I do is I mix the henna into a conditioner, and it's easier to apply on my hair, and then I can sit underneath a dryer for like 30 minutes and then rinse it out, and it really really strengthens your hair.
Oh, okay, I hadn't heard of that one. I mean, I know henna can be used to dye hair, but I didn't know it could be used as a hair treatment.
Hmm. And there's different types, because there is one that turns your hair red, and then the one I use doesn't turn my hair red. It's just like I guess regular henna. I would like to use the one that turns your hair red though. I
Yeah,
feel like in my soul I'm a redhead.
I would definitely wind up with like a deep auburn because I'm already a dark brunette.
Hmm.
Um, Totally off topic, but I've even used watercolor in the past to dye my hair with.
Oh, I never tried that before. I've seen people use Kool-Aid, and the one thing I have used before to darken my hair when I wanted it, because I have more of a sandy brown hair, and I
Hmm.
tend to well, usually when I'm wearing wigs, I usually wear like darker hair or wear red hair. I never wear like the sandy brown that's my actual hair color. But I used to use coffee. I had a mixture
Oh,
of coffee to darken my hair.
see, I've used coffee like as a stain when I paint. I've never thought to
Hmm.
use that on my hair. But yeah, that makes sense.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I think that was pretty much all for the documentary. I mean, we kind of touched back on some things that we had both forgotten,
Hmm.
but yeah, the movie, I like how it filled in the gaps for the documentary. They
Yes.
just put a little more meat on it. So when watching the documentary, it's kind of like, okay, you can kind of relate and see that's how this fit with that.
But the movie put things in chronological order, like
Yeah.
kind of as they happen, and they probably have more notes that they took in addition to the footage of when they were um, interviewing the Beals, but also they probably have information from witnesses that were at the different events. Like the movie kind of starts with it jumps back and forth. That's the movie's it tells two stories simultaneously. Their origin story basically is in chronological order, but in between their origin story, the movie flits back and forth to the
Hmm.
recreation or reenactments of the documentary. And one of the earlier scenes was the cotillion. I think it's a cotillion or debutante ball, something like that.
Yeah. Like a
They
coming
might,
out party.
yeah, they might also have information from people who attended the parties
I
and
didn't think
said,
about that. Yeah.
yeah, they might have told him, hey, there was this cotillion, and little Edie was supposed to come out, and she was running down the street, and her mother had to run down there and get her to come back in. Like,
Yeah. Caused a scene at her own party.
mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, Tony Man was saying I knew a dude who used Kool-Aid as a hair gel, but kept getting attacked by bees during the summer. True story.
Wow, I can imagine that because it has a sweet smell to it, and that would attract bees.
Mm-hmm.
I know. I saw a prison show one time where they were using Kool-Aid to make lip gloss in a jail. They would mix
Oh,
the Kool-Aid with a
yes.
Vaseline. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've known people that do that, but dyeing the hair, that one's new to me.
Mm-hmm. I've
Yeah, it
seen.
makes
Well,
sense.
it's more for like usually you don't like not more for like, but it usually works more on blonde people. Blonde
Hmm.
people can take Kool-Aid and dye their hair like red and purple and blue.
Yeah, and it's a more affordable hair dye.
Hmm. And it's semi-permanent. It just rinses out after weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I have a friend that's a natural blonde that she really takes advantage of it because she'll dye her hair a different color like every semi-permanent, but every other month it'll be like purple, blue,
Oh,
green, and it's because she has this really light blonde hair that she can just do it over and over again, but it looks really cool.
that sounds like fun.
Hmm.
That's always been one of my gripes. My hair's so dark, I have to bleach
Yeah,
it first, which I hate having to do
yeah,
in
the
order
same
to
with
get the
me.
color.
The last time I colored my hair, I did red hair for I think 2 years in a row I did red hair, and the monthly doing your roots was was annoying. And then the last thing I did was I did purple, and I really messed up my hair because you have to bleach your hair so
Hmm.
much in order to get the it light enough for the purple color to take. And it because I have curly hair, it really heat not heat damage chemically damaged the curls, so my
Yeah.
hair looks kind of weird.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing I don't like doing. I don't like putting chemicals in my hair, so that's kind of
Hmm.
like why I like the natural alternatives to dyeing hair rather than, putting actual store-bought hair dye or going to have my hair done at a salon.
Hmm.
Well,
And then
that plus
came
it causes a lot of hair damage. Plus, if you're not
yes.
careful, it can burn your scalp.
Hmm. Oh, especially with the bleaches. Bleaches can really burn your scalp. That's why I love wigs so much. I can put it on and have this color hair for the day, and then I can take it off at night and be back
Yeah.
to normal.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not wear and tear. And your wigs are beautiful. I love them. I think you had shared the brand
Oh,
that
thanks.
you
I use different brands, but I usually look on. I know at least I would say the more majority of my wigs probably come from either Amazon or there's a hair supply store that I just go around the corner and just look and see what they have on sale, and I usually can get really good wigs for like $20. The most I'll pay for a wig is like 50, but that's only if it's human hair, and I only have
Mhm.
two of those. I have two expensive wigs, and then the rest are more inexpensive because they're synthetic hair, and I kind of I go back and forth. The human hair ones I only want those for when I when I used to have, the issues with my hair being thinned out, I wanted a wig that looked like my hair. So my
Hmm.
sister ordered me the wigs, the human hair wigs that look like my hair. She ordered one that looks like my hair when it's curly and one that looks like my hair when it's blown out straight. So those are really, really cool. But I love the colorful ones. I have a pink wig and a blonde and different reds, and I have like two different little drawers of blonde and red wigs over the I would say the last 6 years. I think I've been collecting wigs for 6 years. Wow.
Yeah. Tony Man says we both have beautiful hair.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, that's always good to hear, especially I don't know if you're in that situation, but as we get older, or as I get older,
Hmm.
um, I hate how the hair thins, which
Yeah, my hair is nowhere near the way it was when I was in my teens and 20s. It's like I have to relearn how to do my hair because it's not even the same texture.
hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I have that same thing. It's like I can only fix my hair when it's wet. Like it won't cooperate with me. Otherwise, it just gets all poofy, and
Hmm.
it's kind of like, well, I didn't tease my hair, but it almost looks like it, like a very
Hmm.
bad tease job.
Hmm. Mine is like, especially being in Florida, once the humidity hits. And the thing that I don't like about the humidity and curly hair is it makes my hair always look shorter because the curls will draw up and my hair could be down to here, but it won't look like it because of the humidity because it's drawn up to here.
Oh, wow.
And it's like I'd like to enjoy the length of my hair, but it's always going to look like I have a bob. So a lot of times, like when I posted to Instagram from after the movie, there you see I have the space buns. I When I go out in Florida, I mostly have my hair in a bun, or I'll
Hmm.
braid it and wrap the braids around my head. It's like not worth doing your hair in this humidity.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we have a dry heat over here, so
Hmm.
it's not too bad, but even then, like humid weather is pretty bad.
Hmm. The only way I can wear my hair in this humid weather is if I do like if I put hair gel in it while it's wet and then
Hmm.
dry it with a diffuser and just have like the fluffy what do you call it? Like I call them gel curls because you put gel in your hair and the gel keeps it kind of the way it looks, but it kind of looks a little Jerry curlish on me. And I'm like, I don't want my hair to look like a Jerry curl. I want it to look regular. I'll figure it out one day. And I want my gray to come in. I have one single gray hair right here on the side of my head, and I'm like, can I get more than one? I want a streak. I want the gray
Yeah.
streak.
Yeah, the Lily Munster.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it's
I have a patch on like the side of my head where it's kind of doing that, and it started coming in, I want to say during my mid to late 30s.
hmm.
So I'm curious to see if it'll do like the full streak because I think that would look really nice.
Yeah, I agree. I'm hoping I get the streak and not just like all over salt and pepper. Although I would like the all over salt and pepper would be cool too.
Mm.
What I do look forward to is if my hair completely turns white, oh, I'm gonna be one of those grannies with the purple hair and the orange hair. And because if your hair is white, it's so easy to color.
Oh, Tony Man says my hair draws up during the summer as well. My curls be popping. And Slipknot fan says hi.
Hey, Slipknot fan.
Yeah. Yeah, I think those are pretty much the issues with my hair. My hair is different from my family, so I had to teach myself and learn how to compose my hair because no one showed me like, this is a good trick for this, this is a good
Hmm.
trick for that. And I wish I had had someone to help me with that, but I'm glad I eventually figured it out.
Hmm. And now it's so much better with the YouTube because there's so many people that do tutorials. Because
Yes.
I learned quite a few things. Because there are people in my family have similar hair to me, but they're most of them are men. I have
Yeah.
my grandfather and my father's hair. My mother's hair is different. So she tried her best, but I definitely learned a lot from YouTube as well.
Yeah. And Tony says we can have the gray in his beard.
Thanks. Oh, you know what? I got to show you guys some scenes for those of you that are watching us but haven't seen um, the documentary. I want to show you one of the biggest. We didn't even talk about this, but Edie Beale's um, flag dance. I'm going to show y'all.
Yes, I forgot
Let
that
me.
one. I remembered and then it slipped me. I mean, so iconic.
I'm gonna do it this way and see if I can. There we go. Is the audio able to be heard? I can turn it up.
It cuts in and out. Yeah, I like how they recreated that at the beginning of the movie. My only complaint is Drew Barrymore has like this weird sucked in lip thing with her smile, and I'm like, the real Edith didn't have that goofy grin.
Yeah.
Oh, and I did forget to mention also, I mean, I don't think they mentioned how old she was, but she still has toned dancer's legs, so she
Yeah, she
obviously
does.
dances on a regular basis.
Well, she was an adult in the 1940s, and this is the 1970s.
Yeah.
That's another 30. She's going to be about 60, maybe. And
I'm
then I
not
have
too
to.
sure, but I was jealous of her legs. I'm like, man, she looks really good for someone her age. Oh, Slipknot was saying who's the lady dancing. So that was Little Edie from the documentary.
That's Edith Beale, or that's Edie Beale, the daughter of Edith Beale. Edith Beale. The reason why they became, I guess, in public consciousness is that they are the cousins of Jacqueline Bouvier Kennedy Onassis.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I went into it watching it, not even knowing that they were related, and I mean, that's pretty impressive. I mean, even the fact that they got picked up for the documentary rather than, you know, the other thing became a shelved project, the original reels. But the Maisels thought the material was good enough to just pick up with the mother and the daughter.
I'm going to show you my favorite scene. I call it Costume of the Day.
Oh.
I'm going to show it twice. I'm going to show it you guys how it was in a documentary, and I'll show you guys the Drew Barrymore reenactment.
Yeah, that was a gripe I had. They didn't get the costumes quite right.
Yeah, they didn't. The one they did that was spot on was her dress at the party with the hood, the white hood. That one was pretty accurate. But
okay.
But the other stuff from the documentary, they could have done better.
Yeah.
This is the best thing to wear for the day.
Oh yeah, the revolutionary costume. And I think that's a sweater tied around her waist.
And then you can pull the stockings up over the pants underneath the skirt. And you can always take off the skirt and use it as a cape. So I think this is the best costume for the day.
Okay.
You have to think these things up, you know. I don't want you to come out and come over.
Is she a Slipknot fan? Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, just really quick. Slipknot was saying I'm not familiar with her, but she's a fashion icon. Not really. I mean, the family's just very eccentric. I mean, if you haven't seen the documentary, I would recommend it because your mind would be blown with like the things that they say and come up with, but in a good way.
Yeah, I think I consider her a fashion icon now. Because the way she uses clothing, like she had a shirt on or sweater on for a skirt, and then she had a shirt on her head. Like she just does what she wants to do, and it's amazing.
I can appreciate that. I forgot to mention the shirtless scenes with the mom. I mean, there's that scene where she's stretching her arms up, and you know they have it pointed away so it doesn't show anything. But there was even a point in the documentary she also had a sweater tied around her, like the sleeves were part of the backing of it, and it completely falls off, and you see her wangly danglies.
This is Drew Barrymore in the movie adaptation, playing Edie Beale.
Honestly, you've got like blue on. Well, Al, you're still Mother says you're very conservative. This is the best thing to wear for today, you understand, because I don't like women in skirts. And the best thing is to wear pantyhose or some pants under a short skirt, I think. Then you have the pants under the skirt, and then you can pull the stockings up over the pants underneath the skirt. And you can always take off the skirt and use it as a cape. So I think this is the best costume for the day. I have to think these things up, you know. Mother wanted me to come out in a kimono, so we had quite a fight.
The Slipknot fan, yes, the documentary is free on YouTube. Yes, it's in 1970. I might have been before 75. I feel it might
I
be
want to
listed.
say it was. Yeah, I want to say it was 75.
Yeah, I did repost it on my community page. So if you go to my channel and then select community page and scroll down, the documentary is listed there. The full documentary. It is amazing. Like, it's one of those documentaries that you can't stop listening to because of Little Edie and Big Edie, how they speak, the stories they tell. It's
Yes.
amazing.
Yeah, it's one of the things I like having on in the background when I'm painting.
Mm-hmm. Here's a screenshot. Somebody did a scene by scene comparison.
Oh, okay.
Looks like it's Dimitri. Shout out to Dimitri. You did a comparison between the documentary to the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's the movie is, or the documentary is about these two formerly super wealthy women that live in is it Northampton, New York, or something
I
Hampton, New
think
York?
it's East Hampton.
East Hampton, New York, and how they're very, very eccentric, and they live in this old dilapidated mansion because they've run out of money, and they still are extremely, extremely eccentric, and they have all these wild stories.
Oh, and the holes in their walls and ceiling where the
Yes.
raccoons pop out.
Yes, they had raccoons and possums in the house. Yeah.
It was funny. Oh, Tony says, did I hear horror use the term wangly dangly? The 10-year-old in me chuckled. Yeah, I did. I mean, that's the kind of décolletage. You don't need the booby tassels. They tassel on their own.
Mm-hmm. And Drew Barrymore actually won a Golden Globe Award for her performance in this.
Oh, wow.
I found another funny scene from it with Edith. Let me get it lined up.
Were they friends with Coco Chanel? I'm not sure about that one.
Marjorie knew my father and my uncle. Mother's giving her all this HIT, so I went and told her things about the family. But you see, in dealing with me, the relatives didn't know that they were dealing with a staunch. I tell you, if there's anything worse than a staunch woman, STAUNCH. Nothing worse, I'm telling you. They don't weaken, no matter what. They didn't know that. Wow, what they didn't know. You know, my father made up his mind about what Farmington produced, what the Sacred Heart Convent produced. I don't think he was so down on the Spence School, but he certainly was down on Farmington. I don't know why. Farmington was a junior college. You could choose what you wanted to study. That was what made my father dislike it so, that I could choose. But I chose what I thought he'd want me to choose, you know, English literature and Oriental philosophies. And I always took French, but nothing ever happened there. I can read and write in French, but I can't speak it. I have years and years and years of French. Oh, well.
It's just random stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if the school she's talking about in Farmington is the one that I went to a school in Connecticut called Catherine Gibbs, and formerly Catherine Gibbs was a girls finishing school kind of like a junior college, and then it
Mm.
became a regular college. So I wonder if she's talking about Catherine Gibbs. They used to, I remember I went to a play one time because I had done the costume design for a light opera house. They were doing Pirates of Penzance. And as I was sitting there, a woman sat next to me and she was asking me, it was an elderly woman. She said, "What are you doing here? People your age don't usually come to these plays." And I said, "Well, I did the costume design for the play, so I wanted to come and see it on a stage." And she said, "Oh, well, are you still in school?" And I said, "Yeah, I go to Gibbs College." She said, "Oh, you're a Gibbs girl. Do they still have to wear the white gloves?" And I was like, "White gloves?" I didn't know. I guess in the 50s and 60s they had to wear white gloves to their classes, and
Oh, wow.
business attire and everything. Very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think certain societies, they even have a rule to where you have to wear pantyhose under your skirt because it's considered unsanitary to use a seat that other people have used.
Hmm. I'll see if you know what I showed. Let me show Edith. I showed Edie. Let me see if there's any highlights of Edith Beale. Oh, there's a highlight of her singing.
Yeah,
I'll
that
play.
one I liked.
I'll play a little bit of it. I don't know. I don't want to get dinged for copyright, so I probably can't play the whole song. I got it. Unskippable ad.
Half of my monthly premium is covered with
Another
financial help.
unskippable
And
ad.
knowing I'm covered to go to therapy and fill my
Here we go. That's the mother.
Yeah. And I think that's the record she's playing, singing along to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, she's got a set of pipes on her, especially for someone
Yeah.
her age.
Mm-hmm. I like how they showed in a movie when they had first lost their money, her answering the phone and pretending that she was her own staff answering the phone and calling
Oh, yeah.
herself.
Yeah, that was pretty silly. And then the son calls and she's like, "No, it's me."
Mm-hmm. See, they have that as a clip.
Slipknot was asking, were they friends with Coco Chanel? On that one, I'm not too sure.
They even have someone put together a Cats of Grey Gardens.
Oh. Yeah, they had tons of cats.
Mm-hmm. And this is the room that the mother and the daughter slept in.
Yeah. And
Beautiful cat.
to me, it was surprising because even though the house was disheveled, their
Mhm.
rooms were nicely set up. I don't get the impression that they were, dirty people or that they were hoarders or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to elope with those kitties. Put them in the big bags, get them elope with their faces. They have faces like Jerry enough. Lots of face expression.
And even in that other documentary last summer, you get to see a lot more of the cats. And there's one scene where Edie says they don't like the remodeling, and they do a close up on the cat's face, and he kind of has this Billy Idol look.
Mm-hmm.
Six cats in there. Got about 12 of those things right on the back of his neck. I can't take them out. I have the courage. Would you do it for me? Oh, don't be silly, Jerry. It's not going to do anything. Well, it's not, Jerry. It's not. Don't touch him, Jerry. No, Jerry, don't touch the kid. Yes, kid. Chicks. Yeah. Please, what you complain about? You use that for do it. Don't do it. Gonna do it. What would we He's asleep. She's afraid.
No.
I don't want to be disrespectful.
Jerry's like, I want to leave.
Yes. And that was another strange thing. They had the handyman living in their house. He moved in at some point.
Mm. Oh, they didn't put the part with the portrait. That's why I let it play through, because I thought they were going to put the part about with the portrait.
Yeah.
Let me see. Somebody's got to have uploaded that scene. It's so wild. I know it's in the trailer too.
Okay, I don't remember it being in the trailer.
Unless what I saw was a fan-made trailer.
Oh. Mystic Max says, I was a bit unsure of this one when I first put it on, but I was warmed up. But I was warmed up to the characters. I wasn't so far removed from them.
Mm-hmm.
Great documentary.
I think they're very relatable, and you root for them. Let me find the trailer, then I can fast forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've all had those moments where we just kind of say something left field, or we're having a conversation, and maybe not that exaggerated, but you tell one of those kinds of stories where, you know, something that happened to you.
You know what? I'll go ahead and play the trailer so everyone can see it. Because this is the one that had a red line underneath it, so it's the one I definitely watched. This is for the documentary. Oh, I forgot to put the sound back on.
Very difficult to keep the line between the past and the present. You know what I mean? Or if it doesn't work it out of you, she dies or I die. Who's she? The worst one of my wedding pictures.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And she looked like a girl that had everything.
Yeah. That veil that she was wearing, it reminds me of Aleister Crowley.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, you're right.
Stuck here with mother that cuts the house and Tito. Everything's good that you didn't do. At the time, you didn't want it. Going to the bathroom. Biting down my portrait. Oh, isn't that awful? No, it really is. My grandson is doing something they want.
Yeah, I think this one was a Criterion re-release.
Mm-hmm.
Staunch
Oh, I love. Yeah, I love that scene where she was singing and annoying her mom with her singing, says Tony Mac. Yeah, she kept getting after her for getting the lines wrong.
Say that again. I'm sorry, my mind was like.
No, Tony Mac was saying, I love that scene where she was annoying her mom with her singing, and my first thought was the one where she kept getting the lines wrong, and Edith kept trying to correct her. She's like, sing it right. Tony Man says, sorry, just noticed the lipstick lady Sasha. That's a nice shade. Also being harassed by an attention-craving cat. Sorry for the types.
Oh, typos. He means typos.
Typos, my bad.
I do like to jump back to the movie. Oh, my phone is still playing it. Hold on, let me stop that. There we go. To jump back into the movie, I do like how at the end it gives positive ending because at the end of the movie, it shows that the documentarians invited little Edie to New York to attend the premiere. And at first, her mother doesn't want her to go because she never wants her to go anywhere. But she eventually acquiesces and gives her a beautiful necklace to wear and says, "You can wear this to the premiere. Go on and go live your life." And so she goes to the premiere in New York, and the documentary gets a standing ovation. And the movie ends with little Edie throwing the flowers out into the audience that she was given. So that was really, really beautiful. And then in the postscript where they, put the text that says what happens afterwards, it shows that after Big Edie passed away, little Edie did sell the house and she was able to move back to New York, then to Canada. Then I think she was in London and Paris for a while too. And then eventually settled back to, I forget the name of the island that was in Bal Harbor. I think it's called Bal Harbor Island in Florida, which is where she had wanted to go earlier in her life, was to go to Bal Harbor. It was nice to know that little Edie finally got to leave Grey Gardens and go to the places that she wanted to visit before, she passed. And she passed away. I don't think she passed away. Wait, what year?
2006, was it?
Yeah, I was going to say in the 2000s. So I'm glad that she got to do the things that she always wanted to do before she passed. And part of the reason why she was found, because she lived alone. So when she passed, she was found because one of her friends hadn't heard from her in a couple days. So, I mean, had she not left Grey Gardens, she might have passed away and no one would have known for months.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really good that she was able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, pretty morbid, but I'm sure the cats probably might have had a last meal off of her.
Oh, yeah, that too. Mystic Matt says it's never too late. Yep.
Yeah.
It is never too late.
But to me, it just says how independent she really was, which is weird compared to the codependency that they show when the mother was still around.
And she mentions in the documentary how she never felt intimidated or afraid when she was in New York. She always felt at home when she was in New York, but she felt like she wasn't at home when she was at Grey Gardens.
Yeah, people prowling around in the garden and in the bushes and all this other stuff she mentions. And my first thought was I would feel a lot more comfortable in the country. So I thought that was interesting. I guess maybe just the fact that she's surrounded by people rather than just being secluded.
Yeah, and being in New York, you can be as eccentric as you want to be and no one's going to notice.
No one cares.
No one cares. I should play. There was a channel on YouTube that they just play these weird videos of people literally just being eccentric in New York. A lot of the time in Coney Island. It's like the weirdest ones are in Coney Island. I would play, but I think it's too loud. It's too loud. I'll probably share it on my community page. The mashup of weird things that people were doing. Well, maybe the one where the guy was skiing with one ski. Should play it. I should play it. Let me see if I find it.
I had to think on that one a little bit, and I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, and also there was no snow. Let me find it. What is that video called? It's called Coney Island something. Side Talk. I think it was called Side Talk. I think, is it Coney Island Ski Club or Coney Island's Finest? Let me see. Let me fast forward. Yeah, it's Coney Island Ski Club. Okay, I'm gonna play it.
Never save 30%
Of course, I got an ad.
without Black Friday sale. Yo, we got Byron's Car Wash live from Coney Island. Are you vaccinated? Yes, sir. I was feeling thirsty. Your mom gave me a gallon of Henny to quench that, you heard? There's no snow on the floor. He's really skiing to Coney Island on a hard top. What we do at Coney Island? Cause it ain't real, son. We keep it real. Fuck your life. He had too many shots. We had a grind. Hey, what's up, mama? I'll come to Coney Island and take a spin on the cyclone. I miss. Let's see that flip, buddy. Yeah. phones on. I have 7 female wives. Go to my Instagram. What do you want to tell Joe Biden right now? Stop, baby. Take me out to dinner. Yo, this is the king and Kanye of Coney Island. Hey, Kim ain't got shit on me. Yo, he got his phone in his balls. Steve Jobs did not die for this. If you see these dogs in your front yard,
Is that a
just
goat?
go upstairs. I'm going hard. Bing bong.
Yeah. That's utter madness. Yeah, the man in the Speedo did have his cell phone down the front of his Speedo. But I guess, I mean, he had no pockets, so there's a bunch of these. There's Coney Island's finest, Coney Island Thanksgiving,
Oh my.
4th of July, Coney Island. It's just craziness. Oh, Coney Island glizzy eating contest. They call hot dogs glizzies. So
Huh. Okay, I wouldn't have guessed.
But yeah, how did I get on that topic? Oh, New York. Why why little Edie would not stand out? I think the guy with the one ski, people are going to notice him before they notice Edie.
Yeah.
She could live there and really be free to be herself. I think that's why she liked it so much. And nobody acted like she was being, too eccentric. Whereas out in the Hamptons, they probably acted like, oh my God, what are the Edies doing? They're being too much,
Yeah. Oh, Slipknot was saying, speaking of eccentric people, have you seen the short videos of people addicted to specific colors? Like their whole wardrobe, apartment furniture is the color blue or green, for example.
I saw the green lady I saw TikTok where the lady, her whole wardrobe was green. Everything was green. And I was like, on one hand, that's really, really interesting. But on the other hand, I could see how it would be easy for you to do, not do, but easy for you to live with, because you never have to think about matching anything.
Yeah.
Everything matches. I knew one girl in school like that. No, two. No, I take that back. I knew two. One in high school. She had all her clothes were black and white. And I remember I asked her one day, why are all your clothes either black or white? And she said, so I don't have to worry about matching them. Everything matches everything else. So I get up in the morning, I don't think about it. And then in college, I knew a girl, all her clothes were pink. Every day of the week, only pink. Everything is only pink.
Elle Woods.
Yeah. And she was blonde too. She had blonde hair. She was a really pretty girl from Germany. And the blonde aesthetic just really fit her.
He's like, Slipknot says, yeah, I saw the green lady too. I think some of those people were from New York.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Because there's one place you can be yourself, it's New York. Another place I would say is Orlando. Orlando is very much do what you want to do, be how you want to be, and nobody's going to care. And people are very friendly about it too. Like,
oh wow,
it's like we're the one spot. It's funny because inside Orlando is very laid back, friendly, not even all that religious, but outside of Orlando, you get into like super duper Christian, conservative territory. It's really wild. But Orlando also was one of the most before Pulse, or what happened at Pulse. It was one of the most gay friendly cities. Was Orlando. I think the order it went in was San Francisco, Atlanta, New York, and then Orlando. And like Disney literally had gay days, which was for the whole month of June. That's why it was crazy when our nutcase ass governor decided that he was going to try to ban, anything that referred to anything as of the LGBTQ plus community, with the whole quote "Don't Say Gay" bill. And I was like, how are you going to tell Disney to don't say gay when they literally have a gay days? Like for the whole month of June, and they're not they were really carrying on I know someone's going to bring up how anti-Semitic Walt Disney was, which he was, in like a lot of men of his generation were both racist, anti-Semitic, sexist, all that madman shit. That was that era. But one of the things he did believe in that I agree with is that he wanted the parks to be for everyone. There was not a time during Walt Disney World's existence in Orlando where it was segregated, like where Black people couldn't go to Disney. There wasn't a time where people from other countries couldn't come here. It's very, very welcoming in that way. And they continued that with being very welcoming to gay families. So it was wild for the governor to take that stance. against a property that's internationally, like it literally brings Orlando international visitors. It says, I saw a video saying Florida was one of the 3 states that made unmarried cohabitation illegal until 2015. I wouldn't be surprised. That's why I say Orlando is like a little spot of freedom surrounded by other non-freedom, as I'll call it that way. I'm trying to choose my words in a way that's not insulting, because just because someone might live in the non-freedom zone doesn't mean that they agree with it. They just happen to
Yeah.
live there. So I'm trying to choose my words in a way that's not insulting to anyone. And Miami's also like that. I would say that as well. Miami is pretty free about, letting people be themselves. Especially, yeah, like I said, South Beach, I've seen some stuff on South Beach. South Beach is like our Venice Beach. So, yeah. Is there anything else? I think, yeah, because the last thing I wanted to say about the movie was about Edie finally getting her happy ending. Although they never said that she never wanted to get married. So that was one thing.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She was
she
happy
felt that
about.
it would interfere with her freedom because the man would make her give up her interests.
Mm-hmm. I do remember one other thing. She got to perform on stage in Greenwich. Was it Greenwich Village or Greenwich, Connecticut? I can't remember which, but she got to perform on stage. And I know that must have been like the highlight of her life because that's what she wanted.
Yeah.
I wonder if anyone has footage of her performing on stage. They played a reenactment of Drew Barrymore doing a performance. So I don't
That
know
would
if
be
they.
awesome if it's out there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
Mm-hmm. And with that, I do have to wrap it up because I'm going to the movies at 5:00. I'm
Okay,
going
yeah,
to
no
go.
worries.
Yeah, I'm going to go see Thanksgiving a second time because it was
Oh,
so
I've
good.
been wanting to watch that one.
Mm-hmm. It's really good, especially if you like 80s slasher movies.
Yeah.
You would really enjoy it, but it does really well incorporating modern technology. It doesn't ignore that people have cell phones today, and it incorporates them in a way that's really, really smart. But I always enjoy Eli Roth's writing as far as
Yeah.
how his characters are written and the dialogue. He has kind of a comedic timing that I really enjoy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just glad that one finally got made. I mean, from the fake
Mm-hmm.
trailers, I think that's finally all of them.
Yes. I'm like, I was so excited about it, and I'm glad that I was not let down. And the
Yeah.
gore is on point.
Nice.
I'm being very deliberately non-spoilery. So
Yes, thank you.
because
Because
yes,
I've been
because y'all,
wanting to watch that.
yeah, the crowd reaction was great to the scenes. There was a couple jump scares that really got you.
Mm.
What else can I say? There's a little bit of social commentary, but there always is with Eli Roth movies. If you've seen The Green Inferno, if you've seen Hostel or Cabin Fever, there's always a little bit of social commentary in his movies, which I enjoy as well.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, they're smart movies. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, he doesn't just put stuff out just to see how far out there he can be.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Man says, "Okay, see you superheroes next time."
Yes, thank you to the chat.
Yeah.
That's Tony Man, Slipknot fan, Mystic Mac.
Yeah, I'm still scrolling to see. Marty was here earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks for joining in the chat. I mean, you guys were awesome as always.
I agree.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow, yeah, Thanksgiving was one of those fake trailer movies in Grindhouse.
Yes, it was.
I can see myself collecting all those movies. I don't have all of them, and just putting them next to that Grindhouse double feature because it feels like they should all sit together.
Yep. Machete should be there. Missy Max says, great stream, and thank you for another eclectic film recommendation. No problem. That's Kara's recommendation. I just happen to have seen it too, so like shout out.
Yeah, I don't think I ever would have found out about this film otherwise. I think it's awesome. I mean, I was introduced to this and I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, if you like audio verite, there's it's just audio, but there's I think it's called Shut Up Little Man, where It's just these two men that are bickering, and they say all kinds of wild stuff too.
Let me see. Shut up, little man. Oh, it's
Yeah,
on
Hobo with
YouTube.
a Shotgun. Yeah. Yeah, that's where I watched it on YouTube.
Okay, I'm gonna save that to watch later. So let me pull it back up on YouTube because I Googled it. Shut up, little man is what it's called.
Yeah, I thought that one was a lot of fun also. And Slipknot was saying Hobo with a Shotgun was one too. Yeah, it was.
Yes. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I have that one. Yeah, I do have that one.
Save to watch later. And there's a trailer. Let me save the trailer too.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Okay, with that, I absolutely have to go now because I got to get ready to head out because the theater I'm going to is across town because I had a cheaper tickets.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah, go to the ones that have, because around Orlando, depending on the theater, like it can range from $9 to $15. So I went to the $9.
Oh, and then just really quick, Tony Man was saying, I wish I could have interacted more, but I didn't see the documentary. I was preoccupied, but had to show my support. Well, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
definitely
Well,
appreciate it. Oh,
we
Mr. Mac also
appreciate that.
says I can't look at go-karts the same.
Oh, I missed that one.
Mhm. And also, enjoy your movies, Lady Shasta. Let us know what you think. Oh, I did a quick review. If you go to my channel on Shorts, also if you followed me on Instagram and TikTok, which is at Horror Freak, I did do a 1-minute review. It's a spoiler-free review about Thanksgiving, and then I'll do another review, like a longer review in my channel.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Alrighty. So I guess we'll cut it there so you're not late to your show.
Mm-hmm.
But thanks to everybody for joining in the chat and hanging along,
Mm-hmm.
hanging out.
Yes.
But with that, I will say thank you for coming by. And that's all we have for you today. And I will talk to you later.